Welcome back, everyone. This weekend we have the highly anticipated Twyla Hex banner, which we've been waiting for ever since, it was shared first. And then we also have the Morrigan Alistar banner, which I do have some interesting thoughts on, which I will share in a second. But before we get into that, I figured I would also just add the promo code to this video, because I don't like making videos just on promo codes. Here, as you can see, you get 1 stamina pot and 2 rare summons. And the promo code is Hex1 Twyla. I'll put it in the comments or something, or maybe just in the description. I don't really know, but you just put this in, you press OK. As you can see, I already redeemed it. You get 1 stamina pot, 2 summons. Now that out of the way, let's go into the should you summon. If you are planning on spending in the game anytime soon, I encourage you guys to look at SmileOne. So SmileOne is the official third-party payment platform for the game. You go to the website, my links will be down below if you want to support me. You go, and you can buy discounted W Gold, which is amazing. And every once in a while, there will be a top-up event. This one will be between these dates on the screen, where when you spend, you will be able to get certain milestones and get extra rewards. So if you want more bang for your buck, use SmileOne. And thank you to SmileOne for sponsoring this video. Now, something before I get into it is there is Selene fragments, and this is an event. So there will probably be a quest to get currency, and one of the things to get that currency is going to be summon a certain amount. So you do want to kind of keep that in the back of your mind when you're thinking on if you should summon or not, because it'll just make that sort of thing easier. But as we know from these types of events, it's pretty freaking easy to get the resources for them. Now, to start off, the 2x thing is kind of mediocre, to be completely honest. In this type of situation, if you are not really early game, or you just need quantity over quality, I would completely skip this one. Maybe if you have divines that you don't want to summon on Twilight Hex, that's fine. Now, before I get into the Twilight Hex, because that is the main priority, I'm just going to quickly talk about this Morrigan Alistar banner. If you are close to Lord Pity, or even 100 in Lord Pity, I strongly suggest to skip this one. But, if you do not have Alistar, and you're not near Lord Pity, I would say this is not a bad thing to pull on. Because if you didn't know, Alistar was a fusion or a fragment summon event. As you can see, I still have some from a very long time ago, and this was about an entire year ago. So the people that are a bit newer do not have him. But Alistar is really important, specifically for Guild Boss 2. As you can see, if you look at world rankings, pretty much, or even just in your guild, most people are going to be running Alistar. As you can see, Alistar pretty much everywhere here. And if you do not have Alistar, you have to run Volca, pretty much. But Alistar is just better because his ability, which is what he's good with in Guild Boss 2, his damage reduction, it goes up to 30% and it has 100% uptime. Very important hero. If you have Pope, no Alistar, I would definitely say he's amazing. But we do have to keep in mind that they could always rerun a Pope or Ingrid banner, or alternatively Gary, which is what we're calling the new Nightmare Lord, may or may not be coming out in the next 2 months, is my estimation. Maybe a bit more. I don't fully know. But you do have to keep in mind that we have a lot of really good ancient stuff soon. So this is, for most people, a skip. But I'm just going to say that Alistar is very important. If you're feeling lucky, you feel like you're going to hit something without hitting a Lord, then that's not a bad banner to go for. Now we go to Twyla Hex. Twyla and Hex are both very good, which is really rare, because usually these 15x banners, like the Element banners or the Silas banners or blah, they always have something alongside them that's really ass. Like, for example, Elwyn and Anai is a very frequent banner we've been getting. But with this, Hex is very good, and Twyla is going to be very good. Hex, to start off, I just gotta talk about him. He's broken as hell, okay? He is by far the best Guild Boss 1 DPS, so if you have not been hitting 50k with this, and you do not have Hex yet, you definitely should be going for Hex. Hex is the best for this. His A3 is absolutely broken. Obviously, you might see some Kagiri or Lust, but that's because they're A5 limiteds, and they're freaking broken as hell. But a normal Hex can do pretty damn good damage, right? So Hex is the best for that piece of content. He's usable in Guild Boss 2, but not in the top teams, of course. He is meta, surprisingly, in certain codexes, like something like Lord of Styx. He does the most damage, shockingly, or at least he's second to Silas. Keep in mind, this is all with his exclusive artifact. Even without it, he's really good. Specifically in Guild Boss 1, like I said, and he's also really good in Guild Boss 2, because if you did not know, ignore the fact that I haven't done it yet, I'm lazy, but if you didn't know, he's probably the best DPS to deal with the top magic enemy when it comes to stage 9 and 10. So he is very, very important for stuff like that. Hex is very good, and his exclusive artifact makes him so much stronger, but you don't even need it for general content. He has two of the best factions in the game, especially for his archetype. Great unit. He's a little RNG, but he's amazing. And then we get to Twyla, the new hero. Now, I do not have test server, as lots of you know. I'm trying to get it. It's a bit complicated. It doesn't really matter, but basically, Twyla, although I haven't tested her, both looks like she's amazing in Guild Boss 2, and people have been telling me who have tested her, and I watched a couple of videos, specifically this one by Fastidious, which she looks pretty good, and I think she's worth going for. She's very, very strong. The only thing is, she is a nightmare fighter, and you may not be able to place her into your team, but I'll elaborate on that in a second. Kind of go through her kit. Each basic attack has a chance to trigger extra hits, which is really strong, and it increases every time the ultimate is cast, so you're ending up doing a ton of attacks on top of the basic attacks every specific chance, which is pretty cool. She does basic damage on her basic attack, and then her ultimate, low skill cost, 600 when skilled, basically increases damage, reduces attack interval, and then she also makes her multi-hit do even more hits, which is ridiculous. And then she also does instant damage to whoever she's hitting, as you could see in this top left thing. Next, after you don't do enough, do a certain amount of damage, or a certain anything of damage, it's going to build up some more rage regen. Useless for boss content, but good for other things. And then every time it's triggered, you're going to stack up 6%, 10 when skilled, every single ultimate you trigger of penetration, up to 80% defense penetration, so she's ignoring almost all defense. I will say, with Kagiri being out, and Lucius, and this changes to Aegis phase in Guild Boss 2, this is going to be a lot less good than it could have been, but it's still very good. And then the bond skill. I didn't talk about the bond skill on Hex because it just gives him a shield when he's about to die. Pretty basic stuff there, and reduces his cost only if you have Twyla too, I'm pretty sure. And then over here, if you have Hex, reduces her first deployment cost by 6. Each time Hex draws a card, permanently increases her crit damage. Does this mean that she's going to be great with Hex? Absolutely, but it's not really that important. Awakening wise, her A1 is actually really good as well, because after you trigger the ultimate a certain amount of times, this attack here, which does 20% damage 12 times, 18 times in her ultimate, it's going to be doing 30% of damage, which is overall just 50% more. Very strong A1. If you are going to go for Twyla, I think you should try to be going for her A1. And speaking of Hex Awakenings, his A1 is very good. He has a chance to draw a card, which is a lot stronger than his other cards. But his A3 is the thing that matters, which is when he uses his basic attack against targets that are burning, or when you're using him, you're most likely going to have someone burning. He's going to extend the duration of his Mad Truth, his ultimate, by 1 second, up to a maximum increase of 30 seconds. In stuff like Guild Boss 1, this makes it have 100% uptime. Very strong. He's just always going to be ulting. If you are close to this, like for example, I am at A2, I'm going to be going specifically for the A3, and ideally a Twyla summon, which would be amazing. So that is kind of the overview. I would say this is a very good banner to pull for. I recommend pretty much everyone to pull for this. But the one thing to note that I think doesn't really get talked about much is how are you going to build your team? For example, in Guild Boss 2, let's say I'm running something like this, right? But instead, I'm running something like Yovar and Silas. just to limit the slots a little bit. And then we have a big Nightmare team, which has something like Volca, because you need that damage reduction. What are we really going to be able to switch out? Maybe I could do 2 healers, which is never a good idea. But if I go 2 healers and I put in something like Kagiri. Where's Kagiri? Do I not have Kagiri? That's so strange. I have Kagiri. Oh, he's not leveled. Let's say we have something like this, right? This is already, we're missing a healer, right? We're already kind of struggling to make this. So, how do we build our team? If we have Twyla, who do we get rid of? Do we get rid of Lust? Do we get rid of Arrogance? You know, there's just a lot of heroes. There's a lot of Nightmare units that you have to really consider. Like Salazar as an option, you know, Kagiri. We have Lust, we have Arrogance, we have Volca if you're not running Alistar. And if you are running Alistar, you have to take out Volca and then run Alistar. And it's just really complicated. The team building is really complicated. What I would recommend is you go into Guild Boss 2, figure out what your team is, and if you can slot Twilight in, you will be really, really good. But if you can't, if you already have a full Nightmare team, try to figure out who you would like to get rid of. If you do not have A5 Lust, I've been getting rid of a Lust for Kagiri in a lot of takeovers, and it works beautifully. But even then, the fact that I have to already take out Lust for Kagiri, and then we also have Twyla here. Wukong is coming out, which I should probably talk about pretty briefly. You know, there is just a lot of things that could be coming very, very soon that you really, really just have to be mindful of. You know, you have to be mindful of your team not getting too big in Guild Boss 2. You have to keep you have to keep an eye out for things like Wukong, which I just made a video on today as I'm recording this, which is going to be stronger than Twyla by far, I think. I mean, I would watch that video and really just think, should you save for Wukong? He'll be out in 2-3 months. I think you guys should go for Twyla. That is my opinion. I think you guys should absolutely go for Twyla. But you, once again, I'm just giving you guys all the information I can. And he's not going to be the only unit coming, is all I'm saying. So I would definitely say this is an S tier banner. Definitely worth going for. But you do just want to take into account a couple extra things as much as you can. That's it for me. Just putting a little bit of perspective there. And thank you guys for watching. That's it for me. Destined signing out.